Welcome back to our continuing adventures on the Let's Defend platform. Today we are looking at underneath the Security Analyst Path. SOC166, JavaScript Code Detected in Requested URL. EventID is 116. Type is a web attack. And this occurred February 26th, 2022, apparently. Man, our SLA timers must be in the toilet. Because this is early August when we're getting around to this 2023. Oh, man. Which is odd because with how long I've been doing this, this must have been like a backlog or something else like that. But we'll take a whack at it. So it looks like this was targeting web server 1002. Destination 172.16.17.17, so that is private range. Good. Source IP 112.85.42.13, which if we go through and take a look, got 16 events that come through. Requested URLs, I'll search with image space source. Is it all mostly? No, there's some stuff going back and forth with a DNS query. Oh, for that fake ChatGPT stuff. Version.chatgpt4 google.workers.dev. Wait, is it? No, that's not the same workstation. Oh, it's because it's 173, whereas the last octet is 17 that you're searching for. Okay. But through that, yeah, so we got JavaScript alert for in self eval. So basically, someone's just trying to do maybe some fuzzing or some testing. See as to whether or not if they can get those particular commands to execute on the server itself, as opposed to being just represented. And the off chance that maybe it'd be something that could be pivotable to running some sort of other command past that point. All right. Let's see, this was February 2022, so if we go and we just... Yeah, we don't have any emails. February of 2022. Okay, so it's not an email thing. Nobody bothered to drop a note saying, hey, we're gonna, pivot from a point in China and we're gonna go through. Yes, I did kind of preload some of the scans, having observed the source IP address. So yes, I kind of gave it away that it was China before going to that particular aspect, but just the general searches. So at least as of 20 days ago, 4 engines inside of VT had an issue with this. We'll blow this up. No real web rep, poor sending rep, not a giant surprise. And if I read it right, at one time it was on one of Talos's block lists. And then Alien Vault. Historic. SSH scanner attack login, so plenty of tags. That yes, this looks malicious. IBM currently does not rate it any sort of risk, but then again, this was February when this occurred, 2022. And it looks like, at least during that range, it was denoted as full scanning. Well, if this seems to be a little bit more than scanning, this is actually testing to see if we can tip. An abuse IPDB. It is in there, although it's got a 0% for confidence of abuse. And if we take a look at like the old reports, yeah, brute force, SSH, hacking, so all that good stuff that we all just kind of expected during the time frame. So this does pose an interesting question. Arguably, we would be wanting to figure out, okay, are we doing business with China, in China, around China? If not, why are we just not arbitrarily blocking them from accessing any of this stuff? Again, you can get into the aspect of, IP address whack-a-mole, everything else like that, but it's a real question to ask. If we're not doing business in China and we have no apps or no interest in doing business in China, let's just block them off. Save some of our hair from being pulled out. So if we go into, let's take a look at the host. So it's a server 2019 with a primary user being webadmin 15. Interesting. Okay. We have 14 processes that were going around at that time. No process ID, no event time. Kind of odd that we wouldn't have an event time. But I mean, this looks like your typical run-of-the-mill services and stuff like that going, or background processes. When was this? This was 6:56 p.m. which would be 1800 in that particular portion. So nothing here for network, nothing in terminal short of just having some sort of Docker thing kicked off. Yeah, and the Namecheap support knowledge base, how to install SSL certificate at roughly the same time. So yeah, we're not really going to find much with the host on this one. And considering the fact that we've got it pretty much straight in for the logs as to what was going through, we can build up that at least on February 26th, we had somebody utilizing a China IP address, trying to kind of jiggle the locks, try the windows on our particular web server by the looks of it. Seeing the fact we don't see any sort of weird commands, we don't see like a who am I or anything else like that being run on the host, at least it's in regards to the telemetry we got from the agent. I mean, everything looks kind of sort of normal. We don't see any new events having kicked off February 26th or 27th or 28th. Everything looks kind of like situation normal with this. Device action. Of course, that was what? Just trying to actually hit the site via the IP address. About us. Got a 200. A 200 for search with the test. A 302 would be redirect for image space source space equals. And they got a 302 for script for in self eval, and a 302 for JavaScript alert. And of course, then we already figured out that the other ones were for the fake GPT aspect. So they got redirection, which I'm hoping would denote that they did not pass go and did not collect $200. I would be a lot more concerned as to whether or not if these ones that attempted to put any sort of scripting in there had gotten a 200, but it looks like it was all redirected. I would love to have seen more, 404 or something in the 400 range, but I might have to go poke around at that, see a little bit more. Okay, so because the fact I'm not seeing any 200s in any of the actual ones involving the adding additional code in via the URL, I'm not super worried about this one, but just for simplicity's sake, we probably want to go through and do some geofencing with a block list. Basically to cover countries are not planning on doing business in and am not currently doing business in or with. So, I mean, no 200s for everything else. I mean, it's definitely a true positive. There's definitely JavaScript code inside the actual URLs, but nothing was a straight 200. It was just temporary redirect. At least as far as I remember, that basically being the end-all be-all in that particular aspect. If not, I mean, it's not like we don't have the... Is it web attacks? The course content that they put out? Advanced, reverse engineering, Windows forensics, static malware, detecting web attacks 2. Yeah, I really gotta try to sit there and go back and actually knocking some of these suckers out. Advanced web attacks 2, detecting web attacks. Oh yes, the other aspect I forgot in regards to any of these. It's not only the response codes, it's response size. So we've got 0 for the JavaScript alert, 0 for I in self eval, for image source, 0. Whereas everything that worked, we ended up getting at least, triple digits? Quad digits? Depending as to more than likely what would have actually been on the page. So with 0 coming back at 302, this looks like, yes, we did detect the attempt, but it does not look like it was successful according to any of the logging that we have in place. Especially considering the fact that no other real commands are done outside of that, so... puppies. Okay. So we've gone through... Actually, this is one of the ones in... Isn't it? Yeah. SOC166 EventID 116 is exactly what we're working on right now, which is denoted from the Detecting Web Attacks 1 underneath the cross-site scripting attacks. But yeah, we'll take ownership. Get a case created. Start the playbook. Understanding why the alert was triggered. In order to perform a better analysis to determine whether the triggered alert is a false positive, it is first necessary to understand why the rule was triggered. Instead of starting the analysis directly, first understand why this rule triggered. Simple enough. Why did it trigger? It triggered because of, let's see, the alert rule itself is JavaScript code detected in requested URL. Which, if we look at the normal portions, so requested URL is right inside here. Let me blow this up a bit, make it a little bit more palatable. So we've got the actual scripting inside. And the dogs are just chasing each other behind me, of course. They have to butt in. Oh. So we can confirm at least the appropriate alert is firing for what we're dealing with. Detect between which two devices this traffic is occurring. So we've got the web server 1002 and the Chinese IP address ending in 13. I mean, it was also some other traffic that it was going through and generating. Web traffic, just looking at the various sites available. I don't really know as to how much of that's actually coming across. I mean, I do have the noise suppression, everything else like that turned on, so I don't know as to whether or not if that's coming through or not. Of course, I'm talking every single time that they decide to haul a metaphorical butt behind me. Or growl. Playful growling. Oh, okay. Ownership of the IP addresses, devices. We're going to gather some data. If the traffic is coming from outside the internet. Yes, it's coming from outside. It's not internal to internal traffic. It's external to internal. Ownership of the IP. Who owns it? Is it web hosting? That's China. So everything inside of China is owned by China. Reputation of IP address, which we went through and looked, and not really anything. I don't know. I'm not super concerned, but especially considering the fact it did not work. But again, this would raise the question of why are we not geofencing? If we're not doing anything in Russia, if we're not doing anything in China, if we're not doing anything in Iran, Iraq, any section, why are we allowing them to touch us? Is it coming from the company network? Well, I mean, the response is because it's our web server giving the response back to the Chinese IP address, but thankfully it's all business as usual for there. Who owns the device? The username. Apparently webadmin 15. Whoever the hell you are. Oh, okay. So we've gone through, we've done the reputation search, we've got that, okay, it's China. And it looks like it failed outside of the actual just web browsing on the actual server itself. Examine the HTTP traffic. Oh, so they're going to want a determination. Okay, is it malicious or not? Well, they're looking for a foothold. I would consider it more recon. But it doesn't look like it's recon by a valid internal entity. So it's not the red team going through and poking at this stuff. It's not, hey, we're gonna partner with a Chinese security vendor and they're gonna sit there and scan our external presence. There's nothing like that in emails or notifications, anything else like that as that stuff's come through. So I'm gonna just count it as malicious because it's an attempt. Cross-site scripting. It is not planned. And source is internet to the company. Was it detected or successful? No, according to the logs that we've got. And then we've just got the stuff to put in, which we are just going to dump in the IP address in question. We don't have an email address. We don't have a hash of anything. We don't have much of anything else to go with. So we're kind of light on artifacts this time around. Do we need to do tier 2 escalation? If the attack succeeds, when the attacker compromises the device and the internal. Not required for the following cases where attacks from the internet did not succeed. Well, according to what we can find, it did not succeed, so there would be no tier 2 escalation. Although you would still want to sit there and raise the concern of, okay, why are we not just outright blocking these things? Why do we not have, something in front of our web servers, doing some sort of IP reputation lookup so that way we can at least cut some of this crap down. It might be something of, just like a hey note, we stopped, IP or China IP with, bad web reputation, or has shown up inside of Intel sources and for scanning, everything else like that. We blocked it. Nothing was allowed through, so this is just a quick note aspect. Editor comments. Why no geo blocking? Are we doing business with China? / inside of China? Yeah, I know this probably wouldn't be the best aspect, but logs show it was what? 3 attempts at cross-site scripting against web server 1002, resulting in no success. 3 times 302 response with a response size of 0. And we're gonna finish the playbook, and we're gonna see is how bad did I screw this up? I mean, hopefully not at all, but all right, so let's see. And we're gonna pop the case close. It is a true positive. Close the alert, 1-day streak. We got the happy little stuff flying down, so I'm assuming we answered them all correctly. Yes, we did. Yeah, so that the editor's note is a much more what you would actually want to put in there, as opposed to the example that I gave. It explains it out, everything else like that. I'm being a little bit flippant and just kind of going by the seat of my pants. I would be that one weirdo in the SOC that would just be like, give you enough of the pertinent information, but also try to find a way to actually make it somewhat humorous. Try to make it humorous. Doesn't always necessarily work, but no, the editor's note is much more in line with realistically how you should really approach this. So do as I say, not as I do. Unless everybody's cool and you've noticed that enough of the other sample size for the escalator, the notes inside of various cases come out to be roughly the same. I mean, you don't want to be the only person writing in an entirely bland fashion if everybody else is, you know, got a particular flavor to their notes. If yours is bland, you really don't need that. So, but so instead of why no geo-blocking, are we doing business with China inside of China? Logs show 3 attempts at XSS against web server 1002, resulting in no success. 3 times 302 response with a response size of 0, as opposed to what you should probably actually respond with. When the queue parameter is examined, we see that there is indeed an XSS payload. Since the payload is in the URL, it has been determined that it is a reflected type XSS attack. When we filter by source IP address on the log management page, we see that the attacker also tried different payloads. It was detected that the requests belonging to the attack were redirected with the 302 status code. For this reason, the attack was not successful. Escalation to the next level is not required as the attack is not successful. A little bit bland, but it conveys the appropriate amount of information. I would probably also dump in there in regards to the 0 size response, just in case, because I can just imagine that's going to be asked, and maybe a blurb in regards to the the actual attacker, the IP address in question. It's just like, hey, it seems like it's according to, sorry, Onyx, underneath the desk. I didn't realize when she managed to worm her way underneath there. But something about the fact of, okay, according to external threat intel, this thing has a history of scanning and attacking. It's it's a known Chinese IP address, and basically just give a couple of links in a couple of hits. So probably we want to include virus total because it's at least showing 4 out of 88. Yeah, I probably would include Talos as well, considering the fact that, okay, status expired for the block list, but this is also, over a year since this event occurred. So this might have been on an actual blacklist at the time. Then, okay, OTX Alien Vault. I mean, that's got 11 related tags that are all, okay, brute force, SSH, all that. Oh, I didn't realize it showed up in 50 pulses. And of course, yes, currently a lot of this stuff doesn't show that there's any sort of real problem with it as it is, but if a little bit of digging, like what we get here, January 27th, 2022, up to March 30th, 2022, it's all in there and it's all denoting scanning IPs. So I think that there would be enough here that, include probably links to all 4 of them as backing for your aspect, and then pretty much depends on the org as to how to get a review to actually have a known scanner blocked. Your org may just allow it, just due to the sheer amount of scanning that goes on the internet at any given time, or they may take a more proactive approach. They want to play that game of whack-a-mole. Maybe their networking group, they could be busier. Maybe they've got all their upgrades done and now everything is just kind of set and settled. Give them something else to do. Hey, I got a new project for you. We want to block China, Russia, Iran, Iraq. Go to the State Department, U.S. State Department, and find whatever they're currently labeling their axis of evil currently. I don't know, just try to make it easier. Of course, now, okay, what if you're not in the U.S.? What if you're in the U.K.? Well, okay, are you doing business in America? If not, you might want to block us just to make sure. What if you're a Russian organization? I mean, I can't imagine that they would really want to keep much in the line of any sort of American IP address or European wide open. But again, of course, then it's the whole aspect. Okay, well, if you lock down, so okay, take a U.S. centric view because I'm in the U.S. So if I blocked everything that wasn't a US IP address, okay, great. Most of the world is completely cut off. I have to worry about everybody else. There's like what, 330 million, 350 million at last census or whatever it was. I don't know. There's got to be more than that. Current U.S. population. Oh, 300. Okay. 330, that's from 2021, but okay, that's fine. So if we say 332 million, we'll round up. I have to worry about them minus one. Still have to worry about every single person that might have a US device, US IP address. It's still an awful lot of territory to cover. Plus, there's nothing to say that, okay, sure, you may lock everything else down. Doesn't mean everybody else does. So if my neighbor, okay, they would be in the allow, or they would be allow listed because they're a US IP address. But if they get an email and they click the link and install the Microsoft update that's sent out over email, and all of a sudden a Chinese threat actor has access to their box, okay, pivot, kick it out the door, now they can attack me. I don't know, just a little bit of waffle. Oh, good Lord. Okay, I'm going to finish my coffee, but all the way across, this has been the Let's Defend platform underneath the Security Analyst Path for, it was not August 12th. Hang on, it's in the notes. February 26, 2022 at 18:58 in the 24-hour clock. SOC166 Javascript Code Detected and requested URL EventID 116, and the event type was web attack. So hopefully you got something from that. Would highly suggest going through, and if you've got access to the various classes that they offer, or learning modules, I guess you could call them, go through and do the web attacks. Especially if you end up as having to deal with monitoring, like internally or a corporate website that isn't like hosted someplace else. You have them bearing the brunt of the responsibility. You'll end up seeing this stuff. Anything that would probably be public facing, you will see somebody go through and try to throw Lord. Oh. Oops. Spacebar pauses. Nice. I did not realize that, even though I think I vaguely recall setting that up. Okay, so, but yeah. Go through, take the detecting web attacks 1 and 2, and then the advanced. If you're going to come across anything that you've got to sit there and monitor and watch for, anything that would be internet accessible, web servers, Outlook web access clients, servers, on-prem Exchange. Anyways, with all that being said, I will see everybody in the next video.